The Artist Life podcast is brought to you by Real Creative Heart. Heavy the head that reps the crown. With love, your greatness is found. So rep your crown.
Live from Greensboro, North Carolina, Art is Life.
Welcome to the Art is Life podcast with your host, Russell C. Holt, where we sit down with artists from all career fields and we discuss their perspectives on their art and what it means to them in life. So sit back, have fun, and enjoy the ride. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of Art is Life with me, Russell C. Holt. I am joined with another alumni of UNC Greensboro. Well, the first alumni I've had on here, actually. It's not another, but a former student from UNC Greensboro who is behind the scenes of my upcoming showcase scenes for the MFAs and the BFAs acting. By the time this comes out, they'll probably be done. But he is a former actor and now a director and filmmaker himself in LA now, currently in Los Angeles. And, you know, he still comes back, pays it forward to the current students, and he's been, how long have you been doing this?
See, I graduated in 2012. That was my first year doing it. So every year since 2012.
Okay, so that's about
Whatever that math is.
like 9 years, I believe. Almost 10 years doing this. Well, technically, maybe it would be 10 because going into 2022. But either way, but yes. Yes,
it's without 10th year anniversary.
Yes, 10th year anniversary. So he is the man behind those great scenes that you see, that you will see of me and my fellow student cohort classmates and the BFAs as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Thomas
Mendolia.
I didn't want to butcher the name.
It's okay. It gets butchered all the time.
Yeah, so thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Pleasure's all mine. So before we jump into everything, if you just want to talk about like how you started, went from acting to directing, or like what your background is and how you got into filmmaking.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try to keep it brief. I mean, it runs the gamut all over the place, but basically I started out skateboarding in Elkin, North Carolina, which is up the road a few hours, and I would film skate videos, and that's kind of how I got into filmmaking and editing, was filming skate videos with friends and trying cool cutting techniques. And I look back at it now and I'm like, oh, this is a little embarrassing, but also you can kind of see where I guess I came from. I was just having fun with it. It was something that was fun that I never considered as a career. Filmmaking was always just like a hobby or something. So it came time to figure out what I want to do, and I also performed in high school here and there, so acting was at the forefront of my mind. I went to UNC Greensboro, auditioned for the BFA program, got in and went through the whole program, and I still think back, I mean, even 10 years ago, being here, the years that I was here, I learned the most in regards to culture and music and film, and I just soaked it all in. And while I was here, I kind of got back into filmmaking a little bit with friends, going out shooting short films, shooting little things behind the FedEx over there.
So you were a part of those skateboarders we see all the time.
I hung the skateboard up, and this was all. We actually did like a weird little fight scene back there. Don't tell FedEx, but a lot of like guerrilla style filmmaking, and just we were kind of making it up as we went, and didn't really have any formal training. So then in Michael Flannery's class, acting for the camera, that's kind of I kind of was a self-appointed person behind the camera. Like me and another guy named Chris Raditz in our class, that we would be the people who would film and constantly create all the different scenes, and that's when we started trying new things in the classroom setting. So then after graduating, it came time to move to New York City. Tried to, auditioned and acted a little bit, but still filmmaking was at the forefront of my mind, actually, at that point. And the jobs that I was getting to pay the rent were film jobs. I started filming bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah and weddings, those horrible years of my life. And then went into public access news in Brooklyn and filming short documentaries and all different sort of life around Brooklyn type things, which was still one of the best jobs I've ever had. But while doing that, acting sort of faded out, and I started filming more short films and trying to be a lot more serious about doing a short. And there was a certain point, and I think it was about 4 or 5 years after moving to New York, where I looked at all my films and tried. They were trying to submit them out to festivals, and I looked at them all, and I was like, these are all the same. There's something missing. I'm not doing it right. And that's when I decided to go back to school, and I applied to a few graduate schools. AFI was my top choice at the time, and USC was my second choice. And I ended up getting waitlisted to AFI and waitlisted to USC, actually. But AFI's waitlist is if nobody drops from the original selection group, whatever, you don't get in. And which that was the case. And USC's is if you're waitlisted, you're in. You just go the next semester.
Okay.
So they admit about 60 students every semester. So details that are not necessarily important, but I ended up going to USC, and and it solidified everything. And I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to direct movies, and this is what I want to do for forever and ever and ever.
So, how important was it that you had that background as an actor ahead of time?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
It was, and I still look back at that, and I just feel so like there's a huge part of me that's like, oh, did I waste my undergraduate degree and then I had to go back and get a film degree and like flip-flop? No, I think that the undergraduate degree in acting has only supported my directing. I can't tell you, I don't know if people from USC are going to potentially listen to this, but I can't tell you how many students are afraid of actors. When they get into the rehearsal room, like we would have a class. It was one of the directing classes, and you have to bring in your actors and do a live rehearsal in front of the class, and the teacher will kind of chime in as like, try to do it this way, don't do it that way. And there's just so many instances where they get the actors up and they are like looking to the professor, and they're lost. I don't know if it's being around the class at all, but they're very fearful of actors, and maybe not fearful. It's just an uncomfortability. And then coming from UNCG, I'm right up there. Hey, what's up? What's going on? Let's work. And I know that this is a process, and it's not like I'm going to say one magic word, and all of a sudden the performance is going to be exactly what we all thought it was going to be. I understand that we're all of us going to find it together in the room. I might not have all of the answers. I have suggestions. But acting has really, really been helpful. in directing.
That's interesting you say that. Some directors, or most directors that you would think, are afraid of actors.
Oh, yeah.
Or is it more so that they were looking for someone to tell them what to do with the actors? Or
Possibly. But also I did see that there were a lot of directors who are all about the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I watch their films and the shots are gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I see them on set, there was a lot of time at USC. You crew on other people's sets, and you're kind of working all different fields and being with each other. So I could see other people's sets, and everyone's like looking, and they're meticulously making this shot that's like stunning.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's time to like direct the actors, and they'll give line readings. They'll say, "Stand exactly here, do exactly this," and there's no. What I'm trying to say is oftentimes it's a lot more camera heavy and visual heavy and less about the performances.
Gotcha.
So then when it came time for mine, it started out way more performance heavy, and the camera was just like, I don't really care what the camera does. It's just going to float around. And that's what I was learning at school. Mm-hmm. I knew I was going back to school to learn about camera, movement, story. How can I tell a story in 60 seconds? How can I tell a story in an hour and a half? Whichever. Mm-hmm. It was. I was very much performance heavy in the beginning, and then started learning the camera stuff a little bit later. I mean, I had that knowledge from my time at UNCG, mm-hmm. and I kind of knew shots, and but I didn't know how to use a shot to tell the story, kind of thing. Right. Not completely.
Gotcha. So when you are creating films now, do you create your own? Like, do you write your stuff, or do you collaborate with people? And
no, and I wrote my stuff initially because that way I could make the stuff I wanted to make, mm-hmm. and I didn't really know many writers.
Right.
And also, I won't say that. Writers are great. It's also like I know this I know the style. I know exactly what I want to do with it, and it's really difficult finding that right person who writes the way you want to direct. And if they don't write that certain way, it's hard to find a person who you're able to direct. Mm-hmm. Writers are more difficult to direct because oftentimes they've written it before you've even come on board.
Right.
I'm meandering. Back to the question.
No,
I don't necessarily. I used to write my stuff at the beginning of school, while I was at UNCG, and all the stuff out in New York, and then at the beginning of USC, I wrote all of those. Mm-hmm. And then it wasn't until my summer of my junior year, and then on into my senior year at USC, that I started directing things that other people have written, mm-hmm. which is a total challenge in itself. But now going out into the public, like the thing that I ended up selling, and which is going to be my first feature film, which is my thesis film. It was a horror film.
Yes.
I didn't write that,
okay.
But I did. But the person that I'm working with is spectacular, and we talk all the time, maybe even a little too much. About we like the same things, and we're always on the same page, so it worked in that regard. So going out into the professional world, technically no. My very first feature film, I am just Thomas Mendolia, the director.
Gotcha.
Will I get back to writing? I think I will.
Mm-hmm.
I do like writing.
Mm-hmm.
I've written a couple screenplays.
Okay.
They need a lot of work, but
I'm currently writing as well, like a TV series
nice.
Based on basically semi-autobiography. I can't even say the word. Biographical, yes. I'll definitely be cutting that part.
Don't put autobiographical in the script.
Right, yes. But yeah, so kind of on my life, as far as acting is like my journey through acting and
Oh, it's great.
living in, like, coming from where I came from, and then getting, to, trying to get to where I'm trying to go.
Yeah.
So I've written 4 episodes so far.
It's great. TV's ambitious.
Yeah.
So give yourself some time.
Yeah, yeah. So I haven't wrote on it since the summer because I've been busy being in grad school and whatnot. But
Gotcha.
Yeah, I am trying to finish it and everything, and go from there and see what happens.
That's great.
Deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
that's really exciting.
getting back to what you had mentioned, I was going to bring it up later, but since you segued in there, you just threw it in there a little bit. It's your thesis film. Just want to talk a little bit more about that if you can.
Yeah. So I mean, it's been really weird. I think weird is the best word for it because wild and weird and crazy, it just was completely unexpected. So I'll try to keep the journey short. But basically, there's a class at USC. They're all numbered. So this class is called 546. And 546 is a class where USC will fund every semester 3 short films. They're about $12,000 in budget each. And if you want to direct one of those, which I knew starting out as like my very first semester, I was like, I want to do one of those. You have to take a lot of classes, a certain amount of classes, and then so usually the people who are directing 546s are juniors and seniors, the people who have done a lot. So there's really not a lot of chances to direct a 546, and so there's a whole process of pitching these if you want to do one of those. Basically, the writers will submit all scripts. So the faculty gets about 100, 150 scripts or so. And then from those scripts, they're read and vetted, and about 20 are picked. And then simultaneously, if you want to direct, you submit your directing reel of your previous work, and I think you submit a resume. I can't remember. I think it's just a reel. And again, hundreds of directors submit. 9 are picked on a short list, and those 9 directors are sent those 20 scripts. And as one of the shortlisted folks, I was read those scripts, read all of them, figure out which one you think you can do, and you pitch it in front of all the faculty and then some students from the previous 546 semester. It's a daunting process. It's very terrifying. And I actually pitched twice. The first time I pitched something that I probably should never have pitched. Directing is almost similar to acting type. Okay. You kind of want to pair it with something that you want to direct stuff that you know from, and that not necessarily you can't direct different things in the future, but the first thing going into 546 or doing something, you want to direct something from that you know. So the second time I pitched, I really read them, and there was one script called Mr. This for That, which I was like, this sounds silly, but after reading it, it was about a girl who finds a monster in her closet, and the monster grants her wishes, but takes something in return. This for that. So I had never done a horror film. I never really liked horror films. So my pitch was, I'm going to take this, amp up the stakes to where she sacrifices her brother, and then the third wish, she actually gets eaten in the end, because I thought, I grew up in North Carolina. I grew up in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. Cautionary tales and Brothers Grimm fairy tales were a big part of my childhood, and I thought if the Brothers Grimm were alive today, this would be a short film, and they were making short films. This would be a cautionary tale. So that was the basis of my pitch, expanding it out also into a girl trying to navigate a family that's being torn apart by divorce. As a child of divorce myself, so that was me trying to put some personal aspects of myself into the film, and then this sort of Brothers Grimmy sort of thing. So really, it was just a short that was going to be my thesis film. That was going to be my final film at USC, and I was going to go off and keep doing other short films.
Right.
I had actually, while we were shooting that short film, I had applied for USC is part of the Sloan Science Foundation. The Sloan Science Foundation is a foundation that grants big short film grants to, I think, 5 different schools. There's like NYU, Carnegie Mellon, USC is one of them. You can apply for it, and I actually got one of the grants, and it was a grant for about $20,000 to do a short film.
Nice.
So that, I was like, great, I'm going to do Mr. This for That, and then after Mr. This for That, I'll go off and do this short film. So that's, I thought Mr. This for That was just going to be over, and I put it aside. We'd submit it to film festivals and stuff, and then I would go off and do this next one.
Right. But that is not what happened.
No, not entirely. But that's what I would recommend also to anyone, any filmmaker or anything, actually, an actor. If you have an audition or if you have a film, whatever you have, like whatever project's going on, when you finish it, set it aside and forget about it and really focus on the next thing, because it can be depressing to hang on to something that you just finished.
I was going to ask why would you?
I mean, if I finished Mr. This for That, the short, and then just like didn't do anything, and then really focused on, why aren't you watching my old thing? Because people are only concerned with, okay, that was really cool, what are you doing now?
Right. What have you done for me lately?
Exactly.
As Janet Jackson says.
Wise words.
Yes.
So basically, we shot the film over the fall. I graduated in December, and started getting. We also have a showcase at USC called First Look. After the showcase came out, which was not until February or March or something like that, the next day I got an email from an agency and got represented by them, and then I got a call from a manager, got repped by him, and from there they learned that Michael, who's the writer, owns the intellectual property for the script, so they signed him too, because technically he owns the idea of the screenplay.
Right.
And from then they were like, okay, do you have a feature idea? And luckily Michael and I had sat down and chatted about it, and we went and outlined it. They immediately sent us out to pitches for producers. We pitched around, and we had a lot of interest, and then with those producers that had interest, we then pitched with them to studios. And ultimately, we landed at a studio called, I think I could say it. Yeah, I could say it. Starlight, which they just came out with James Wan's Malignant. Midway was another one of their films. And
I saw Midway. That's the one with they're fighting for
Aaron Eckhart. I think
the fighter, like during Pearl Harbor, right?
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah.
On the Pacific Front of World War II. Yeah. The Battle of Midway.
Yes.
So all of that happened in the span of about a week or two. That's why I'm saying it was really weird, because I just was a student, and then all of a sudden it just was like.
Yeah, and that's crazy, like how, so you can attest to like how quick like your life can change just like that.
And speaking to that, I'm just thankful that we were prepared enough to have thought about an idea for the feature film. And also it was during COVID, so all of our pitches were on Zoom. So we were able to have our whole pitch, which is about a 20-minute pitch, where we both alternate paragraphs of speaking. And maybe going back to my acting, I don't know, but it was we were pitching on Zoom and reading from a script, and it's really difficult to be like, a girl gets sucked into a closet and the closet door slams shut. Silence. You're trying to create suspense while describing this whole thing.
For those who may not know what pitching is exactly, did you want to?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's really the process of selling your idea. I had kind of just I knew the process of pitching, but I had just learned about exactly what they were requiring, what they were expecting. Like on the days in the room, in front of these like studio execs who I've seen their names in big credits.
So what are like the key talking points you have to?
It's basically what they're sent is first they're sent a short film, and then before our meeting, and then they're also sent. I created a pitch packet, sort of PDF slideshow document kind of thing, which is so basic. There's like barely any words. I got a little selfish and I wanted to put a director's statement on the end of it, which was like 3 to 4 sentences of how I visually saw the film. I mean, you can see visually how I wanted it in the short film because there it is right there. This is how I want to do it. They got sent those 2 things, and then immediately you get in the room and the producers start talking first, and they're like, great, we came across this thing, we love it so much, we think it would be a great blah, 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 take it away, Thomas and Michael. And we're like, cool. So the first paragraph was relating was talking about sort of the emotional aspects and the personal aspects of why us. I think that's a key thing with pitching is you want to say why you should be the one doing this film.
Right. Because also, too, it's just about, like, work because they're going to be working with you, right? So it's like,
exactly.
Like, make sure you're not an a-hole.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's the first thing I said is I am not an a-hole. This is Mr. This for that. Then the rest of it really is the story. It starts out, we start out with blah, 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 blah. And she goes through this, and here's the whole story, and then there's the wrap-up. Done. And then we talk about it. They ask questions, and we answer them to the best of our ability. Some of them are more geared towards the producers, where they're like, what's the budget like? Where are you thinking of filming? And they're like, we haven't really, so
we didn't think we would get this far.
We didn't think we were going to get this far. Well, that's the thing that we learned, which is wild, is we were trying to sell a feature based off of a short film. And Michael and I are 2 novice filmmakers. That's a huge gamble for a studio.
Right.
Typically, studios are going to be buying stuff. If there's one novice person, they're going to be buying something with like a big actor attached already.
Right.
Also, we didn't have a script yet. That's another setback of like, cool, where's the script? And we're like, well, we are hoping that the studio will pay us to write the script rather than us writing it on spec. Right. And I shouldn't say us. Technically, Michael is the writer. I am not listed as the writer on the project. I am offering notes, directing notes. It was definitely a wild process, and the questions. I don't think there were really any questions out of left field. There were a lot of suggestions, crazy suggestions, but you just kind of nod your head and you say, "Yeah, that's a really great idea," and then go think about it or do what you're going to do to begin with. No, I'm not going to say that. Cut that. Does that answer pitching?
Yes. So obviously they liked it. They believed in you enough, believed in both of you guys, despite being novice filmmakers, to go ahead and greenlight it. And so now, what's the next steps?
Yeah. So it was greenlit. There was an article put out. That's when it got real, and that's when I started sweating. There was like an article put out in Deadline, and like my name is right there. It's just really
It's like surreal.
bizarre. But yeah, so Michael has been writing. I'm not sure exactly what draft number we're on, but basically we're writing within with the producers. So it's me, the two producers, and Michael, and our manager, who is an executive producer now on it. I think I could say that. Yeah, I could say that. And it's the five of
you're
us.
not saying names. I guess.
No names. But it's the five of us. Yeah, it was in the Deadline article. Yeah. I can say it. Okay. Yeah, it's the five of us.
You're still getting used to this.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I don't want to be like a Tom Holland where I like reveal something that I'm not supposed to. But yeah, so it's basically the five of us. Michael writes a draft, and then we all chat on a Zoom call about it, and we give notes. And we're on 4 or 5 or something like that. I can't remember. But it's getting closer to the point where once the producers deem it good enough, we send it out to the studio. The studio will probably have their own set of notes, and we'll work on it with them until they greenlight it.
Okay.
And that's pretty much where I come in, is when it gets greenlit. That's when I start.
Gotcha. So
everything.
It could be any day, or not
Yeah.
any day necessarily, but it could be coming up soon. So like you just got to be ready when they call and be like, it's time to start filming.
I mean, these things take so much time, and I didn't even realize how much time they took.
Yeah.
But yeah, just it could be any day. It could be months from now. That's the other thing, is trying to get now I'm trying to get another wood in the fire. That's a phrase, right? Yeah.
It is now.
It is now. Wood in the no. There's a real phrase with something about fire, but I'm going to use wood as an example. Put more wood in the fire so I can maybe have a couple projects going on at the same time.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are you able to go out and do other things?
Yeah. I have so much free time. I mean, I ended up shooting that short film for the Sloan Science grant. We shot that back in July, so that was great and gave me something to do. And we've been in post-production on that for a while. And I think we were trying to lock the picture before I came out here, and I'll probably lock it as soon as I get back. That's pretty close. And then go into sound design and color and all that stuff in the spring. Yeah.
So like, now what you waiting for while you're waiting for that to be greenlit? So you do like side projects to stay financially stable or something?
Yeah. I work as an assistant editor, which is great because I can work from home. And actually, that's the reason why it's great. I can work from home. And I sometimes I'll do side editing gigs. That was the other thing, is editing has sort of been a consistent thing throughout my filmmaking endeavors, even before UNCG. For the skate videos, I edited a lot, and that has always been something that I've been able to, I don't want to say cash in on, but that's been something that I've been able to
make use of,
and financially, and be able to support our little family.
Nice. Yeah. Now, because I've heard directors, when it comes to film making and making films, they usually don't get a say when it comes to the editing. Is that true for your case as well, or? I'm
gonna assume so. I mean, so it's I think it's complicated and it's case by case. I know the Coen brothers edit their own films, but I also heard that they had to join the Editors Guild in order to do so. There's a lot of union things that can come into play in this sort of in filmmaking. And so, in regards to Mr. This for That, I would say, I do get I will get a director's cut, but I do think the studio gets the final cut.
Right.
So I mean, and look, I think that's quite common across the board, except for you've got filmmakers like Jeff Nichols, who's known for Mud or Midnight Special, or most recently Loving. He's one of my favorites. If you're listening, Jeff, call me. He's always gotten Final Cut on all of his films, which has been, he's always worked on such a level that he's able to, at an indie level, that he's able to have Final Cut and shoot on film, and like sort of the directing dream almost.
Yeah, I heard, I forgot his name. He's a director. One of my classmates did him. He did the original Dune, and he didn't like
David Lynch?
Yeah.
Oh,
I hear
yeah.
He does that now.
I'm sure David Lynch gets Final Cut.
Yeah. So, because he didn't like the way that they would edit stuff, the way,
Yeah. I mean, I love working with editors. That is a tricky thing because I am an editor. I do want to let me just sit down and let me cut it the way I want to cut it. But if I were to do that, I would lose something so invaluable, and that is another person's perspective. I really feel that I'm one of those directors. I think it's very invaluable. It's the only word I can think of right now. It is getting other people's opinions. One of my favorite stories is the Indiana Jones story, where they're shooting the scene in the classroom, and Harrison Ford, it's the introduction to Indy, and he's in front of the classroom, and all the girls are like dreamy-eyed watching him because he's Harrison Ford. Right. And then the camera dollies by like a close-up of one of the girls, and she closes her eyes, and it says "love" on one eyelid and "you" on the other eyelid. And that was an idea from the first AD on the set. He leaned over to Steven and was like, she should have "love you" on her eyelids, and they did it. I think that is just such a great example of filmmaking. It's not just my opinion, or it's not just me saying it's going to be this and this and this. It's me listening to absolutely everybody, and then funneling and almost composing, a little bit of this guy's opinion, a little bit of this woman's opinion, a little bit of everybody, just sort of, and then funneling it into a cohesive idea.
Right. It's all about collaboration.
Exactly.
Stuff like that.
The C word, collaboration. And editing is no different. I would lose an invaluable cut. So I like to, the first cut is the assembly cut, which is to the script. So I basically shoot all the shots that I think I need and then the editor takes it, and I sort of go away, and they make an assembly cut, which always makes you want to vomit because it's a first cut. It's just, they're like, oh my God, this movie sucks now. I'm never gonna. This is the worst thing in the world. Yeah. And then they take that cut and they do magic to it, and I like for them to come up with an editor's cut, and they can do whatever they want. They can change scene orders, they can cut scenes, cut lines, they can accentuate certain moments and end it a different way if they want. They could play the whole movie and whatever. Right. And that is so fantastic because you get to see something you never thought you would ever see, and you never even thought of. And not all of it might work, but you can pick and choose. Like, I really like what you did here for this scene. Let's keep that. And then from the editor's cut and the assembly cut, and you sort of mold a director's cut from that. And then after the director's cut, then the producers come in and chop it all up. No, I'm kidding. The director's cut's usually really long, and the producers are like, you don't need this.
Oh, yeah. I saw that Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah. I did not watch that.
Very long.
I can imagine what it would be like. Yeah.
So just to dive a little bit into the actual job of your filmmaking, like directing, is so directing would be more what you would be categorize yourself as?
Absolutely.
Like a film director. So your contribution to the project is you pick the shots, you like set up the blocking, and stuff like that.
Yes, and yes, and yes.
Is there anything else
that I don't do,
or like no. that you do to make it come out as your vision?
Everything. I mean, it's a bit of everything.
You like work with everybody pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, there are certain directors who, they're more this heavy or they're more that heavy. Like I know, I don't want to speak for Wes Anderson, but you can see from his films, production design is very, very important to his
Michael
films.
Bay explosions.
Michael Bay explosions. Yeah. I do. That's one of the things that I love about it is I do have a hand in all fields. I have long, lengthy conversations with each head of department, with the production designer, and that's something that's actually been interesting me even more by every film that I do. There were films that I had done my first time at USC, or like my first films that just sort of like production design, I don't know, put a curtain over there or do whatever. Only until these recent films have I really been paying attention to it, and it is so much fun, and it's so much fun to tell a story with the wallpaper or the Mr. This for That wallpaper is actually, I have that in my living room now.
Oh, nice,
we hung that up,
nice.
which is a little terrifying, but production design and sound is so incredible, and sound design, just a little tidbit of something that I just find so cool is, so Mr. This for That is this creature in this closet, and as he moves, we wanted to create an otherworldly sound of like creaking bones. He's not really a human, so I lived in Chinatown at the time. I bought a frozen octopus, and we had a Foley session. I don't know for those of you who don't know what Foley is. It's basically you're in a room with a whole bunch of random objects, creating the sounds for the film that are often not what you're seeing. So you're faking a lot. It's amazing. YouTube Foley. It's just really cool to see. So for example, we ended up using a frozen octopus, and I put it in front of the microphone, and we watch a monitor of our cut, and every time he would move, I would unpeel a leg of the octopus. So we got a little bit of a slimy sound, and we got a really cool creaking sound of like the ice coming apart. That's something that I get a kick out of, is sound design and Foley work. And
what did you
stuff.
do with the octopus after?
I think I can't remember. I think we either threw it away, which I feel terrible for the octopus. Actually, now I go back and say that I feel like, wasn't there an article came out that octopus are like sentient beings and they have emotions and feelings, and maybe we should cut that whole bit. It was already dead when I bought it. I didn't go catch an octopus, and I feel terrible about it now emotionally. But
that's cool though. Like, because
it came up with a really cool sound. Then the sound mix and raising the music at certain points and dropping the dialogue at certain points, and really like the film is like every time you do something, it just sort of gets better and better and better. I mean, a lot of people think you shoot it and you get into the editing room and you're like, oh, there it is. No way. Like sound design brings it to a whole nother level, and then the music comes in. You're like, oh my gosh, we got like a movie now. And then it just meandered a little bit again. But directing wise, I love talking to everybody, and I love getting everyone's idea about something and funneling it into something. So you spoke to shots. That's something I also love doing now, is storyboarding and working with a storyboard artist and coming up with with my DP, coming up with the storyboards and exactly how the scenes are gonna go and the transitions between each scene, and do everything.
So for that, the short film, is it available, or you gotta keep it under wraps until the feature film comes out?
It is available. It is available privately. I am able to send it. So it's been out to film festivals. It's not currently playing at one right now, so I couldn't direct someone to go watch it. But
just wait for the feature film.
I would wait for the feature film because we went through some legal work with Starlight, and I think Starlight now I don't know if I should say that. the short might be owned by somebody else.
Gotcha.
And I don't know if I'm able to share it right now. But it was playing around at film festivals, and keep an eye out because we would potentially put it on YouTube or a platform like that and share it around.
Cool. Got a few more questions.
Absolutely.
Appreciate the time. So speaking on, how your life pretty much changed within a week.
It didn't, but yes.
As far as it's on its way to changing, and just like you were saying, like being a student and then just being in those rooms with those studios and stuff like that. That's a big change that you.
Yes.
Did you, prior to this happening, did you see this happening?
No.
Anytime soon, or did you see it ever happening, or what?
Some of my favorite directors, like Ari Aster, is someone who I like to watch a lot. He did Hereditary and Midsommar, and he's got one with I think Joaquin Phoenix coming out next. I like to read.
I think I know that one too.
Yeah.
It's with the guy we spoke about earlier.
Oh, great. Oh. Well, then I might have to email you separately and ask what the details are. Yeah, Ari Aster's definitely influential. I didn't actually get into any horror until I did this film, and now I watch
into it.
Yeah, specific horror.
Right.
Very specific.
Same. Yeah, I'm not much of a horror guy. I like more psychological thriller type stuff. So
Twilight Zone.
Yeah,
Twilight
Zone is clutch.
I loved old Twilight Zone. We treated this show, and we're treating the feature like it's an episode of the Twilight Zone. It gets it's less gory and a lot more psychological.
Are you a Black Mirror fan?
Oh, God. I'm a Black Mirror fan. I loved Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone. I loved It Comes at Night. It's classified as a horror film, but I feel like it's more psychological thriller. It's, I mean, I can say this because it's in the short with Mr. This for That, when it's one of those things where you make a wish and then something's taken, and only the wisher is aware of the world changing. So if a person disappears, they disappear from existence.
Gotcha.
So only Sarah remembers that she has a brother, and her parents, no one remembers that they have a brother. So that's the psychological aspect that
It's like back in the day with Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Exactly. Yes. And yes, I was afraid of the dark.
Yes.
I was always able to answer yes. The swing set is terrifying.
Funny thing, I watched that a couple earlier this year, and it's so not scary anymore. It's so funny because the intro is the scariest part.
Yes.
of the show.
Goosebumps too.
Yes. Goosebumps. Yeah. Yes.
So I was a very scared child, and I think maybe that's why I kind of like going into horror. Is I'm not necessarily going out to make a horror film. I ended up trying to make a very personal film, and there happened to be some very scary aspects of it. But
with a message underlining.
Back to our Ari Aster.
Yes.
There's I like to look up directors and see their paths of success and how they came to be, or look up their interviews or whatever. And he had some his story is he graduated from AFI and had this really great short film, played at film festivals, but then 7 years later he did Hereditary,
Right.
which I was like, I just got out of USC and I've got a lot of student loans to pay. I was in panic mode. And there's Ang Lee as another one where apparently he he graduated from NYU, but got to a certain point. He went out to apply to accounting school or something, and his wife found out and was like, no way, where you came out here to do this. And shortly afterwards he got his big break and his first feature.
That's a real one right there.
Yeah. Ang Lee is pretty spectacular. But yeah, so I was ready, I think, emotionally for graduating and starting to try to find work that would sustain me and sustain me writing. I thought I might be writing at the time. Again, I also had that short, the Sloan short, to focus on right afterwards. But yeah, the immediate future was all that I was looking at, and the long distance future, probably not at the best. My parents would probably disagree with my methods here, but the long distance future was not something in my forefront. So when all of this happened, it was just something that was just really, really great.
Right.
Yeah.
So what keeps you going now, besides, you gotta get this film up and running, but like what motivates you to continue filmmaking and just expressing your art form?
I mean, I never really. Once I settled and I was like, I'm going to go to USC, I'm going to do filmmaking. I've never really needed motivation to sort of keep doing it. It's just really about what am I going to do next. That's where I'm at right now, is trying to figure out something to do next, to occupy my thoughts and my mind. And I have a couple ideas rolling around and playing off of them with Michael, although Michael's really busy writing. So yeah, it's anything can be really inspiring to me. A good soundtrack, a good movie, a good book, painting, or like an article in the New York Times. But yeah, I've got a couple ideas working on them right now, and I feel like there hasn't been anything that's sort of hit me over the head or struck down like lightning of like, this is you need to be working on this right now simultaneously.
When it comes to the genres, is horror something you're gonna gear more towards, or like what's your main genre that you like to expand on?
I mean, I think talking with my agent, it makes the most sense to be in horror. A little bit in the beginning, which I don't mind. It's not like I feel I would feel trapped, but I also think about it in the sense of a lot of first-time directors. A lot of directors started in horror. I mean, James Gunn, Jordan Peele. Although Jordan Peele is just stellar, and I really hope he stays in horror because they're amazing. Or psychological thriller, that world. I'm really excited about Nope. That just signed. Hoyt van Hoytema is a cinematographer. Okay. Nope is Jordan Peele's new film, and it's got a really bizarre poster with this like electric cloud over this city. It's going to be another really, really cool film. But Steven Spielberg started out with Duel, with a thrilling a truck driver chasing down this car. It's like almost Jaws of the road. And then he did Sugarland Express, but then he did Jaws. And so I'm not averse to staying in the horror field, because I know the type of horror films I make are not necessarily exactly horror. I know that they have some other elements to them, which might make it easier to maybe a few films down the line do like a sci-fi thriller or something, or do the new Star Wars. No, I'm just kidding. It's too many.
Nice.
Kathleen Kennedy, if you can hear me, there are too many Star Wars.
But you gotta, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
It's true.
They got a big fan base. So.
You know what? I'll still watch it. I don't know what I'm talking about. I've watched all of them.
So, what does your art mean to you? Like, what is?
That's a good question.
Yeah, like, why filmmaking? Why art in general? Well, there's art in everything, but why filmmaking as your art form? What does that mean to you?
I mean, it's who I am. I mean, I feel like without it, I would still be. I know I would be in the arts somewhere. I have to be. I've always done everything. I've dabbled everywhere. I've dabbled in painting. I've dabbled acting. I've kind of done a little bit of everything, but found filmmaking as the ultimate. This is who I am. This is how I can express myself wholeheartedly. And I don't want to necessarily say I'm a control freak, but I do think there is an aspect of directing where I can work with others and have sort of an ultimate say over the story that I'm trying to tell. It's life. It's the blood in my veins.
Yes.
It's there's no other option for me, I think. I haven't even thought about it. I always get the question from my parents, have you thought about this? Have you thought about doing that? No. It hasn't even crossed my mind.
Right.
Because I know I'm going to be doing this for better or for worse forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
It's fun. The aspect of a community and a family. Theater has that same, I found that in theater too, the aspect of having a family doing one project together and creating something is just, there's nothing like it. I think it's,
Yeah, for sure. I would agree. I concur. So speaking of, like, since you are an actor and stuff or you were an actor, do you see yourself being in your own films, like some director?
No, can never do that. No, I have a hard enough time being behind the camera and focusing on all the other things. I watch films like Ben Affleck and directing himself in movies, and I'm just like, how on earth would you? How do you have the brain capacity to do that?
Yeah.
I just because I can only come on set and I've already talked about having all those things on your plate and multiple plates spinning at the same time. I can't imagine being like, okay, I'm going to go step in front of the camera now into character.
Yeah.
Action. No way.
Yeah, you got to be a different kind of person to do that.
I've also seen myself on camera. I'm like, I don't believe you. I talk to myself and like, as if I'm somebody else. I don't believe that guy.
Right.
That guy's lying.
Well, we are the most critical on ourselves.
That's true. This is true. I do watch my movies, and I'm like, should have got this shot. Should have done this.
Yeah.
But no. The answer is no. I'm not gonna be in my movies. But I always look for parts of friends. Cool. My last Sloan film, we had a fellow from my UNCG time named Steven Spencer as our lead, or as our protagonist.
Nice.
I had never worked with him while I was at school. We were friends, but it was like, oh, this role would be really great. And I always try to. It's not about like, oh, I just want to try to do something nice for this person. It is always 100% about a familiarity. Familiarity. I think I said that right.
Yes.
It's about being familiar with that person and on a certain level with them, that ego and all this other stuff can be set aside, and you can say, now let's get to work.
Right.
And you can stand being around them, and you communicate and talk on a different level. I mean, a lot of, like, going back to Wes Anderson, I don't know why I'm talking about him so much, but he was talking about, I surround myself with my friends, and you're essentially, that's the best type of filmmaking, is you're with your friends, and you're making something that you're having fun.
Right. And
That's what
you don't want to be around people that you're not going to have fun with. And that makes sense to why most movies you'll see like a bunch of people that are in the same movies, like the Adam Sandler movies or like the Will Ferrell movies, like you see the same actors in them because
it's about having fun. And you know what? I'm going to go back on my answer of what filmmaking is to me. It's life, but it's fun. I've from a very young age, I take things seriously, but my parents would say that I don't, and I like to have fun. I like to I guess this is really the same thing for a lot of people, but I don't necessarily like to be in negative situations or scenarios or constantly surrounded by drama. I like to have fun, and filmmaking is the most fun thing for me.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly surrounded by people that I'm having fun with and creating and laughing and joking around on set to an extent.
Yeah. But I mean, because the world, especially now, is chaotic and it's a lot of drama and negativity and stuff like that. So like, you can't take yourself too seriously. It's always got to have that fun, and that's what I was reminded of more so for this semester, is having more fun and not being so serious about things.
That's a lot of the notes that I give, actually, as a director to the actors, is in this take, forget everything that we've talked about, forget all of that stuff, and just have fun and talk to the other person and react to that person and keep having fun, because if you're not having fun, then why are we here?
Yeah, like what's the point? You could be miserable at a regular job.
Exactly. There's so many regular jobs that pay way more, and you're guaranteed a position there.
You could be miserable all you want.
You could be miserable all you want, but if you're not having fun, then what? Then why are we here? Having fun.
Yes.
I like to have fun.
Yes.
Directing's fun.
Yes.
There's just an example of it. There was a day where, spoiler alert, in Mr. This for That, our protagonist Sarah, as all good cautionary tales do, the protagonist is killed or eaten or something in the end because she didn't learn from her mistakes. So we have the day of her getting sucked into this closet, and she's got these like snake tentacles wrapped all around her, and she's like screaming, and it could potentially be like a very dramatic, disastrous day where everyone's really tense. Like, this is the day where Sarah's like, we got to get this really great. She's going to get sucked into the closet. But I only can think back of just how fun that set was. Every time we yelled cut, we kind of were joking around. Like, the snakes were, it's fun. We're playing such make-believe.
Right.
And we're like kids with toys playing make-believe.
Yeah, and it keeps you in a positive mental state and a healthier mental state as well.
Yeah.
I like to have that fun and stuff in between cuts and stuff.
I'll always be a child.
Yes.
And
I mean, we all technically are children. We just look older.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean,
Exactly.
And you'll see adults that have not changed one bit. They just accept their outer appearance. They're still children.
Yes.
But yeah.
The good children.
Yes.
Not the bad ones.
Yes.
The bullies.
Yes. But yeah. Cool, Thomas. Just two more questions now.
Yeah, absolutely.
First question is, what advice or words of wisdom would you have for someone who is trying to be a filmmaker, or just someone just trying to succeed in life?
Oh. Man.
Drop the bomb on you.
Yeah. You were like, here's this little thing that you can manage, and now here's the entire plate.
You know, I like to give you options, you know.
That's a big option. Okay.
I mean, you already mentioned one, you know, having fun, but, you know.
Yeah, having fun, you know, I mean, you got to love it. I mean, I watch these podcasts and watch these behind the scenes of these directors giving advice, and I'm like, I know exactly what I would say if someone were to ask me that, and now you've just asked me that, and I have no idea what to say. No, I think, yeah, okay, I got it. Do it all the time. There's a lot of advice out there that says if you want to make films, go make films. Mm-hmm. I get a little cringed out when they're like, go make a film with your iPhone. You can absolutely do that. The reason why that gets me a little frustrated is the amount of iPhone films selected at film festivals is not a lot. Mm-hmm. And also what that does is I think they're saying that is like, it doesn't matter what kind of camera you have, which is true. Mm-hmm. Which is very true. If you have a good story, it doesn't necessarily matter.
Good audio.
Exactly. Good story with good audio. It doesn't necessarily matter what kind of camera you have. So I would say go out and film what you can with the equipment that you have, with the means that you have right now. More importantly, tell something personal to you. Something very, if... Like, I'm not going to go out and say something about a community or say something that I know nothing about initially. I mean, unless I go into that community and do like so much research, but still do something, say stuff that's important to you or that's meaningful to you that you want to say, have something to say. There's a lot of filmmakers out there who like the idea of filmmaking. Mm-hmm. They like the idea of being a director. Not knocking Quentin Tarantino, but their favorite director is probably Quentin Tarantino, mm-hmm. if that means anything. Where if they like the filmmaking aspect,
they like the glamour of it.
Yeah, but if that's what's important to you, maybe you should be a producer or an agent. I'm not knocking producers or agents; they're really great. But if you want to be a director or if you want to be a writer, the story and the creative part and the craft come first, always. Mm-hmm. I would say story is always at the top of the list. Mm-hmm. And all the rest of that stuff comes way, way, way later. Camera, production design, if you want to go into it, forget about that stuff. Yeah. Just focus on story, and have fun.
Yes, have fun.
And yeah, if you advice to people in life, I almost just let you just keep. I should have just let you just keep talking, and then we would have just breezed over this question. I don't know. There was a point where I had advice. Be nice to each other. Be kind. You're not on this planet long enough to be mean to each other. That takes a lot of energy. It's exhausting.
Yes.
It's exhausting to deal with angry people. It's exhausting to be angry at someone for what?
Yes.
It's
only hurting yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah. Just be kind. Just be a good person. Help someone out on the street. Just pay it forward. Haley Joel Osment, whatever. Just be a good person.
Yes. Pay it forward like you're paying it forward for our showcase scenes.
Oh, I love doing that. That's the best. Yeah. I'll say yes forever and ever. I'll do that.
Cool.
As long as the UNCG has me, I'll be here.
Cool. Well, Thomas, thank you for being on here.
Thank you.
And yeah, like I said, I appreciate you doing this because we don't know each other like that, but now we do.
Yeah, now we do.
We have this archived footage right now. So
and now our scene's going to be your scene's going to be amazing now.
Yes, the chemistry is building.
Here it is.
Yes. So final question, when it's all said and done, however you want to interpret that, what do you want your legacy to look like?
Whoa. Man, the questions here. I want to be looked at as someone who had something to say. I want to be looked at as someone who was kind and caring and compassionate and loyal. I guess I'm trying to say I want to be looked at as a Hufflepuff.
Did you watch the
Yes, I did. Go Hufflepuff. Let's keep it going. I'm not really into sports, but this is my sport now.
I like flicked through it. I saw Gryffindor get an answer wrong.
Spoiler alert, Hufflepuff's killed.
Yeah.
Just wiped the floor.
Nice,
Just kidding.
nice.
No, like I even if I'm not remembered down in history as a big director or whatever, I just hope that I'm remembered by the ones who loved me as someone they miss.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
That's nice. That's deep. Never thought about it that way, but yeah, that's a good one. Well, Thomas, I appreciate it. And yeah, maybe one day we can work together sometime. Since we're best buds now.
Let's try on Thursday.
Yes, we'll start there and we'll go from Tuesday.
Tuesday. There we go. This is why I have an AD. Did I talk about the AD role or the producing role, the production? Yeah. Tell me where to go and I'll be there.
Yes.
I'll see you on Tuesday.
Yes. Thank you guys. By the time this comes out, Tuesday would have passed, but there'll be another Tuesday. But you get it. So thank you guys for another edition of Art is Life. As I leave all episodes, you guys have a good day and peace, love, and blessings.